Ashleigh Banfield, who hosts her own podcast called Drop Dead Serious, is breaking exclusives on this case like nobody's business. And yesterday, she had quite a doozy. I'm going to bring her on. She's going to explain what she learned, but she reported exclusively that they actually do have a potential suspect in the case, and the identity is rather shocking. I'm going to bring her in now. Ashleigh Banfield, thank you so much for joining us. So tell us what you say, very reliable law enforcement source told you about a possible suspect in the case.
Sure. So after almost 4 decades in this business, I've collected a few friends at the FBI and in local law enforcement all over the country. And the source that I have is impeccable. And he said that not only were the cameras smashed, plural cameras smashed, so that the suspect likely knew about the locations of them, but that the car belonging to the sister of Savannah Guthrie, Annie Guthrie, was towed, impounded, and taken into evidence. And this is the wording. It's very important. The wording is very important. He said they now believe the son-in-law may be the prime suspect. Those are the words. Son-in-law may be the prime suspect at this point. And I'm very mindful. I covered the Elizabeth Smart case. I was out in Salt Lake City for 5 weeks while Elizabeth Smart had vanished. And I recall specifically a lot of language saying Ed Smart is likely the prime suspect here. And so you got to be really mindful that, as you know, Megyn, you're a lawyer. Police investigations start in the middle of the circle, and they go out in concentric circles in terms of investigating family members, right? You start in the middle of the family, you investigate out from there. Then you go to contractors and friends and workers and everybody else who's had some contact, and then there's the randoms. So it is not surprising that someone in the family is being looked at. That language to me was pretty strident, though.
It's surprising to me because there was forced entry. And from the beginning, I thought, well, they must have ruled out the family pretty quickly if this is a case of forced entry, because the family wouldn't need to do that. The family would presumably have a key, and if they didn't have a key and they wanted to get in, they just knock on the door and Nancy Guthrie would open it.
So this is super interesting. And I had a long conversation with my former colleague, Brian Enton, about this, because Brian identified blood drops at the front door, right? And he's shown the video of it. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
However, my source says the back door is wide open. Back door left wide open. That's what my source said. I had a, Megyn, half-hour conversation 2 days ago.
I watched it.
The sheriff, yeah. And I specifically said, so are you telling me, when you said that she did not walk out of that house on her own, I said, are you telling me that she might have been carried out of that house? And I used the word over the threshold of the front door. And he said, I didn't say front door. But he didn't say no carried. But when he said I didn't say no to the front door, and then, and the next day I'm getting information about the back door, it's pretty safe to say, well, that makes perfect sense. However, why is there blood at the front door? And Brian Enton said he couldn't find the trail continuing past to the walkway that would take you to the driveway. Now it is gravel, a little harder maybe to see any blood, but not impossible. So I'm trying to go.
But couldn't they have gotten her in the car, Ashleigh? I mean, like, I'm picturing a scenario where couldn't all those facts be consistent with they came in through the back door, then they got her, then they brought her out the front door after injuring her.
Could.
Then the blood trail continued just to the driveway.
Well, it didn't.
Where they then put her in a car.
That's the problem.
It ended well prior to the driveway?
Yeah, the blood trail is just at the front door on those tiles. Then the gravel starts right away, and it's a walkway to the driveway, and it's not close. I mean, it's a bit of a ways. Nancy Guthrie can't walk 50 yards, pardon me. Nancy Guthrie can't walk 50 yards on her own, so she would need assistance. And if you're bleeding and you've been in some sort of a melee, that would be even less. So I was going through the scenarios in my mind. Okay, maybe the front door camera is smashed, and the doorbell is rung to get Mrs. Guthrie downstairs, because that would be difficult in the middle of the night. It would get her down those stairs. So the confrontation might happen at the front door, right there at the tiles. There's a struggle. And then because the car is not parked right out front where all that could be visible potentially, maybe the car is around the back, and that's why they go out the back door. And because
is that a
you're now
possibility?
Struggling, I have no idea.
Could a car be parked in the back?
I don't know, because I've been trying to see with drone video whether the car could get out into a darker spot or maybe out of camera view because the smashing has to happen. But I was told that the cameras were smashed and plural. So if there's a camera in the back, camera in the front, smashed. And then, of course, Brian Enton noticed it and said, asked the sheriff, did you take them? Or do you think the guy or the suspect took them? And the sheriff had a funny answer. He said, yes, I noticed that too. We're looking into it.
Yes. So what he saw, Brian Enton saw, was like the remnants of a Nest camera, not even
Correct.
the Nest camera, right? Like it was clear to him that they had been removed, which is not the same thing as destroyed. The sheriff is saying that they were destroyed right before we got to them. So he made it sound like they were destroyed by the perpetrator here, by the bad guy.
Sheriff didn't say on the news conference that the cameras were destroyed. Brian Enton shot that video and asked, the cameras are missing. Did law enforcement take them or did the perpetrator take them? And the response from the sheriff was, yes, we noticed that too. We're looking into it. And so, look, I can tell you, you know this, Pima County, there's not a lot of crime there. I'm trying to think of the last major thing that happened. I think it was Gabby Giffords being shot there, 15 years ago, 20 years ago? And so I think he's working in real time, and trying to protect his investigation, keep the integrity, and answer real questions he wasn't expecting maybe, and couching, his verbiage as best he can. But he didn't say, oh, we don't know that we took the cameras, or no, there never was a camera there. He said, yes, we noticed that too, and we're investigating that. We've got them.
It's your reporting that has added that they were destroyed.
And multiple. I don't know the location of the other one. My guessing, and it's just me, would be backdoor.
Yeah,
but
that's where you put the Nest camera.
My source also said, and this is musings, not evidence or information, who takes an 84-year-old woman who can't walk well on her own? It is a burden. It is a troublesome endeavor. It makes you more susceptible to being caught. You now have a problem on your hands. What are you going to do with this person without anybody seeing it? And it stands to reason. It's very unusual for some random burglar to take the person if something happens.
It's not a random burglar. No, I agree. So it's either somebody who's kidnapping her and wants money for a ransom, or is kidnapping her as a revenge because they dislike her, or maybe Savannah or another family member. Or it could have been a
personal
murder.
musings again.
It could have been a murder that they were then removing the body from the crime scene.
That's even worse because, again, now it's on your hands to get rid of the body, and the evidence is now in your car and all the rest. It's not that it hasn't happened. It has. It's more likely that a random person would leave that body in the house and get a clean getaway with no DNA evidence in the car, if that's possible. But the other random musings was that something like this, and again, these are the random musings, this is not evidence. This kind of a crime typically requires a benefit. And like you mentioned, the ransom notes, musings are baloney. That, you don't email a ransom note to TMZ or a local, station. It's not normal. It's not usual. And that time frame as well. Ransom notes usually come pretty quickly. This was 72 hours later. So, and look, I can't wait for that investigation to yield some idiot that thought that they were going to get some Bitcoin out of a tragic situation. It makes me, they're just festering parasites when they do this.
I mean, it does. We still don't know, though, whether Savannah Guthrie has received a ransom demand or law enforcement has, because they've been very cagey about the ransom question. The first day he was asked, which was Monday, Sheriff Nanos said, no, I haven't heard anything like that. And he was kind of forthcoming. And then, as you know, yesterday, Tuesday, he was much more tight-lipped. He wasn't as forthcoming with answers. And the question of whether a ransom note had been introduced seemed more ambiguous on day 2 than it did on day 1.
It's funny. I'm looking back at my notes from my conversation. I said, has there been and this was the Monday, as you said, has there been any demand for ransom? And he said, we don't know. He said to me, we don't know. Those were the words. However, this came out yesterday. You probably saw it. This was the QR code and the statement from Chris Nanos, the sheriff, saying, we are aware of reports circulating about possible ransom notes, parentheses S, right? Note, parentheses S, regarding the investigation into Nancy Guthrie. We're taking all tips and leads very seriously. Anything that comes in goes directly to our detectives who are coordinating with the FBI. We encourage anybody to use this QR code. So and also our friend Harvey Levin at TMZ broke it yesterday. They got the email yesterday. So
Yeah.
I don't think Harvey had it on Monday, and I would highly doubt that the local TV station had it Monday and didn't report it till Tuesday.
All right, but separate, that's sort of a red herring, we think, on the side. But the news about Savannah's brother-in-law is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I have to be honest, a lot of people initially thought, should we be looking at the family? Because just that's
the way it works.
90% of the time, exactly, that's who it is. Usually, crime is not committed by some random person coming into a home and kidnapping an 84-year-old. Usually it's a tragedy that somebody
Knows
made
where
a terrible...
both cameras are.
Yeah, exactly. Knows where both cameras are, front and back, and possibly manages to get her to open the door, or somehow maybe has a relationship with her. But of course, the thought of Savannah's not on the table. She was in New York. She had to fly out there after this all happened. The sister, I mean, like, it just seems beyond
Can I ask you a
possibility
question?
that the sister had something to do with it. But now we're talking about the sister's husband. Yeah, you go.
Spidey senses, Megyn, with all your experience in being a lawyer and being in the media, do you think that they would seize the vehicle of Savannah Guthrie's sister and impound it, tow it, not ask for it, come in, we want to take a look, tow it, impound it? The words that were used are, it is in evidence. If they didn't have a little stronger feeling about this, because that sends a massive message early in the investigation. If you are taking the daughter of the victim's car, and a famous daughter's sister, that was another thing that I'm just putting a lot of pieces together.
No, you're right. And the other thing the audience should know, they probably already do know, is you're not some whack reporter. Like, this is your beat. You've been covering crime for 20 years. You're very solid. Your reporting standards.
38, but who's counting? 38 years this year.
Reporting for many, many years. But your reporting standards are very high. So you understand very well the gravity of reporting something like this. This is not just some slapdash operation. And you trust this source that told you right now he's the prime.
High level.
Yeah.
High level.
Okay. So no, you're right. They wouldn't. And when was it that they seized the car?
Why was it they seized the car?
When?
I don't know the answer to that, but I do know that the FBI, according to Brian Enton, was over at Annie Guthrie's house yesterday for several hours.
International disputes, inflation, rising national debt, digital currency. There is a never-ending list of reasons that gold has risen over 700% in the last 20 years. And a never-ending list of reasons smart Americans diversify a portion of their savings into precious metals with Birch Gold Group. Gold can thrive during uncertainty, which is why it's a crucial part of a balanced strategy. It gives you peace of mind, given all the events that could impact the U.S. economy. See if holding gold in a tax-sheltered retirement account is right for you. Birch Gold can help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold. Just text MK to the number 989898 to receive your free info kit on gold. There's no obligation, just useful information. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, consider letting Birch Gold help you diversify with gold, so you too can have peace of mind regardless of the uncertainty. Text MK to the number 989898. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.